This is news hot off the presses. It was reported today that Phi Alpha, the largest, I believe, black male fraternity in America, their convention was set to be hosted in Orlando, Florida in 2025, which is 2 years from now. Think about that. 2 years out from today. And they decided they're going to scrap it due to Florida's racist policies. You know, Florida has really created a hot mess. This is all of their own making. I've never seen anything quite like this, really, in essence. And I've been around for a while. You know, it started when they had those folks running around outside in Nazi regalia. And I said, what the heck is this? Why is the government allowing this kind of reckless, harmful, detrimental behavior? You know, they'll say, oh, we have freedom of speech. And that's true. You do. But you know, when your speech infringes on other people's safety, especially in the general public, outside of business facilities, you're assaulting people. You know, they just weren't speaking. If it was just that, I would have said, oh, these are some kooks in the basement somewhere. No, there were motorists who were driving by and they were assaulting folks, yelling racial epithets, spitting and attacking people. This was what was reported in Florida multiple times. And this is even prior to them protesting outside of Disney. Yeah. Can you imagine? You go and you show up with your children to go to Disney, and you got grown men outside, standing right outside the facility, dressed up as Nazis, doing Nazi salutes and yelling all of these hateful things about Jewish people. Yeah. And the government in Florida just allowing it. Yeah. And so when I saw that, you all, I said, I'm not going down there. I said, this is very problematic. And you know, people were trying to say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. But I said, no, this is a huge deal. Because what you're condoning is pure hatred and bigotry. And I want no part of that. I'm not going to fund that. I'm not going to give it any money. No, not at all. And it's dangerous to people. Look, you tell somebody, hey, go to this place, and you know the place is shady and dangerous. If something happens to somebody, who's going to be held responsible? The person you told to go there is going to say, you told me to go there. I was assuming that you told me to go there because it was safe for me to go there. So I'm not going to tell anyone to go to a place that I know, based off of what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, is not safe. That's not to say that everyone in Florida feels that way. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying the state apparatus, the government in Florida, is allowing it, endorsing it. Yeah. By not doing anything about it, that's an endorsement of it. Yeah, absolutely. And so I said, I wouldn't feel safe there, and I wouldn't recommend anybody else go there. Then you saw the travel advisories happen. You saw Susan Lorenz, the woman who shot her next door neighbor through the door with a shotgun, just killed her neighbor. She was yelling racial epithets. Yeah. You saw those 3 young guys in Jacksonville chase down a young black man, lynch him next to a garbage can. Yeah, all of this is happening because Florida has allowed that type of environment to fester, in my estimation. They allowed that type of hateful, bigoted environment to grow and fester. And other haters in the society, demented folks, feel now that it's been allowed and endorsed by the government that they can just do whatever the hell they want to. Yeah. And I don't blame them for feeling that way, you all. Why would they not feel that way? Did Florida do anything to sanction them? No, they didn't. Not at all. Matter of fact, you have a governor who's more concerned about the history of this country and the history of his state and not wanting to share the truthful fact-based history of this country and this state with the residents. So people know that this type of thing has occurred numerous times. Yeah, Florida has a very insidious history, and the governor wants to kind of erase it, but yet as it's currently happening, he won't speak out against it. Yeah, nothing. And so I said, no, that's just not a safe environment. I wouldn't recommend that. You know, in 2022, Florida had 134 million tourist visits. This year in 2023, 34 million. Yeah, think about that. They're 100 million shy of what they had in 2022. And now think about 2022, you all. COVID is still a thing. People are still scared. But people are going out. They're going and having a good time. They're partying. And now in 2023, now that COVID is kind of a distant memory to most people, even though we're still having to deal with it in our society, 100 million fewer tourists than the year prior. Now, any reasonable, thoughtful person would stop and examine this and say, what is going wrong? What are we doing that's making people not want to come to a state that's known for tourism? Yeah. But see, they're not stopping and reflecting. If anything, you all, they're doubling down. And that's why I say we had to boycott completely. The boycott started June 1st. We're July 26th now. So we're kind of like 56 days into this boycott. And boy, it's really doing a number on Florida. Now, I don't know definitively a numerical number as in terms of how much per day they're losing. But it's got to be in the millions per day. If I wanted to ballpark it, I would probably say maybe like $20-30 million per day since this boycott began. You've had all the migrants pretty much just leave the state because of the new law they enacted July 1st. They criminalize you. Yeah, just criminalize you. Even folks with papers, with documentation, said that they would be too scared to work in that state. And I don't blame them. Because you think they're going to really stop and make proper determinations? No, they're just going to say because you're a migrant, you're illegally in the country. Yeah. And so those folks said we're just going to go to a different state where we don't have to put up with that type of discrimination and rampant hatred. Yeah. And so most of the migrants, the people on the construction sites, the folks in the restaurants, mind you, these folks have been working in Florida for years. Yeah, years. They just decided they're going to leave. Most, I would imagine, went to Georgia and Texas. And Georgia and Texas are not necessarily heaven on earth either. But what's going on in Florida, you all, it's horrendous what people are saying. It's really horrendous. And you got a lot of other elements happening in Florida too. Home foreclosures, the highest in the nation right now, Florida. Car repossessions, the highest in the nation right now, Florida. AAA and Farmers Insurance. They said they're pulling out all of their housing and mortgage insurances, car insurance. Why? They said that because of climate change, they don't feel like it would be an appropriate thing to maintain that. They would take such tremendous losses. You got the temperature in the water in Florida yesterday hitting over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. All the coral reef is dead in the water. Yeah. They killed all the coral reef. And so all of these things are mounting in precedent, happening right now in Florida. And I told you all, the seers, the tellers, the empaths, they're saying that Florida is going to experience some type of calamity. We're all seeing the number 18, 1 and 8. I don't know what it means. None of us know what it means. It could be 18 weeks, 18 months, 18 years, I don't know. But everybody is saying, get out. And I told you all yesterday, it's time for an exodus. Get out of that state. Yeah, I think that state is going to be made an example of by the universe. See, Florida is violating some universal basic orders in the society. Things that they shouldn't, go near, they're flirting with. There's an old Asian proverb. It says, those who play around with fire shall soon perish by it. Florida is flirting with fire. And all of us who really know these kinds of things know that they're going to perish by that fire they're flirting with. You cannot do that kind of stuff. And they're kind of knee deep in it now. They have DeSantis as their governor. He's kind of like our modern contemporary version of Bull Connor in Alabama. Then they have Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago and what he did on January 6th, how he governed for 4 years, his terroristic mannerisms, and what he did to the country. And so all of that dark, negative aura and energy is upon that state. If anybody believes anything good is going to come out of that, boy, you're naive and easy to deceive. So I said, you all, it's time for an exodus. You gotta get out of there. I don't care how you get out, you gotta get out. You know, sometimes people want to argue with that kind of thing. When people see something or warn folks. But also there are signs down there. You know, folks that monitor the animals, different animals. The animals in the water, they've been going crazy in Florida. They can't even report it. Shark bitings are up. The animals are going crazy. The birds are going crazy. All the different creatures, crazy. And so they know something's up, something's coming. And I'm telling you all, get out of there as soon as possible. Yeah. Grandma might not want to go. But you gotta be like, Grandma, it's time to go. Time to go elsewhere. Maybe not forever, but for now. Sometimes you have to just get up and leave somewhere. Because it's no longer safe. You know, in the 1930s and 40s, you had a great migration out of the South into the North. People couldn't stay under Jim Crow and all of those segregationist things that were happening in the South. It was horrendous. The terrorism, the brutality. People just said, I got to go. If they had the means, they got out. Sadly, there were a lot of folks that didn't have the means, and they stayed in it. And they suffered and languished because of it. I don't want that to be the case for a lot of good Floridians who don't support what's going on down there. And there are a lot of people that don't support it. But sadly, your government, your establishment, they are in full support of it. And so I don't think anything good will come of it. Yeah. They're kind of forsaking the natural order of things. And I think that they're going to be told that there's going to be a sanction and a punishment for that. Yeah. I kind of had a very eerie vision. Yeah. It wasn't much to it though. But all I saw was rubble down in Florida. Everything was just completely rubble. It was all destroyed. Yeah. Nothing was left standing. Other folks are seeing this too. Yeah. Other folks are seeing the same thing. They're saying it's going to be complete destruction. And remember, see, this is how these kinds of things work, you all. You remember the former president said death and destruction on his own society in America. And I said those kinds of commentary, wishing that kind of thing, it oftentimes boomerangs on the individual that wishes it. And so he might get death and destruction in his own home state of Florida. Yeah. I kind of feel it's going to be a calamity, you all. A lot of other people are saying this too. I don't think folks have much more time. You know, a lot of conventions are pulling out. It's not just Phi Alpha. You know, there's a person that was down there, they did a whole story about this. She works in the convention industry, the tourism industry for Florida. She said she was checking the books. A lot of conventions are pulling out. She said folks that were planned to come 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now, they're pulling out. They're canceling. Phi Alpha was going to be in Orlando. They said the loss of that convention, that's a loss of $4.6 million to the greater Orlando area. Can you imagine that? $4.6 million just gone. It was ticketed to come to you, but it's gone now due to the animosity and hostility of the environment they're creating. Yeah. And so I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon, tragically and sadly enough, for Floridians. I think it's going to get much, 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 much worse. You know, when you start telling children that a horrendous and evil and atrocious practice such as slavery in America was beneficial in some way to those who languished and endured enslavement. I mean, what do we expect to occur that's going to be beneficial for the state of Florida out of that? So everyone that's really involved with that kind of thing, I can't say they have good karma coming to them. Yeah, I cannot say they have good karma coming to them with that. That's something I wouldn't want to touch. And so you keep up the Freedom Train boycott of 2023. Do not, let me repeat this, do not go down there. Do not. I don't care what happens, don't go. Because I believe the universe now is going to take care of Florida and make them an example to the rest of this entire republic. That if you go too far, this is what will happen to you. Yeah, I believe Florida is going to be made an example of. The governor, the former president, they're going to be made an example of for all of us. None of us are bigger than the universe. And you know, when the universe gets mad at you, there's nothing any of us can do to calm it. Yeah, it just has to run its course. And so that's why I said when these things were occurring, folks, you really got to speak up and do whatever you can to try to hold and stop that shit. Silence is complicity in it. Yes, silence is complicity. Knowing that something is atrocious and evil and you just looking the other way, or saying that it's not going to bear any fruit on me, well, we all know that's not the case. What Florida, the government is doing is horrendous. What I believe is coming to Florida based off of their actions is also going to be horrendous. You have to understand, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And I told you, if you want a vacation somewhere, go to Mexico. I'm not going to spend a penny down there. I'm not going to. And I told you all we're going to expand it out. I'm not doing business with any Floridian companies, at least the 7 that I mentioned. ADT, Bonefish Grill, Hertz Car Rental, Marriott, Publix. We're not doing any business with them. Outback Steakhouse. I'm making a sacrifice. I'm saying I'm not going to put up with it. And the message I'm sending is for those companies. If they want our business, they're going to have to stand up and say something to the government. They're going to have to say you've gone too far. Disney took a stand. Kudos to Disney. They said this is going too far what you're trying to do to us. Tell us how to run our business. Tell us who we can hire. Tell us who we can validate and appreciate. So kudos to Disney, but more need to do that. And they need to do it as soon as possible. Because I don't know what they're looking at. But what I'm seeing, it's not going to be good. It's already bad, and it's going to go from bad to worse real quick. You know how you can go from 0 to 1,000 in a couple of seconds? It's going to go from bad to horrendous in a couple of seconds down there. Yeah. The coral reef just died in under a week, all of it. You know how many species that's going to affect? Thousands. Thousands of species rely on the coral reef. Thousands of species can't survive 100-degree Fahrenheit temperature in the water. Yeah. So your ecological biodiversity down there is going to be the first thing that's impacted. But it's certainly not going to be the last thing. And you all those tellers and empaths telling you to do an exodus, you better listen to them. You know, when the animals and the empaths and the tellers and the seers all tell you to do something, you better start listening. I'm telling you what I would do, even if I didn't have much means, much money. If I had a raggedy car, I would get in it, take what little possessions I have, and get out of there. Yeah, even if I had to stay at a Motel 6, a Holiday Inn, La Quinta in another state, go and live with a family member or a friend, I would do it. I'd get out of there. Something really, really catastrophic is coming to that state because they're in violation of everything. And they know it. Ask yourself, AAA and Farmers Insurance, they said they're getting out because of climate. But you know, they have advisors that look at those type of things. They see things. They hear from the seers and tellers too. They employ those folks. And they tell them, you know, what we're seeing down the road is not good. Kind of reminds me of the story of Noah's Ark. Noah went around telling everybody, hey, a flood is coming, a great flood. And everybody was like, Noah, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just a drunkard working on that stupid boat. What do you call it? An ark? And Noah just was collecting the animals, saying, at least I'll save the animals because you humans are not willing to listen to good judgment and reason. And they said there's never going to be any flood that comes. And then the flood came, and it destroyed everything. Even according to the story, Noah's wife perished in the flood because she turned away. She didn't listen. So I know some of you all won't listen, and tragically you will succumb to whatever this is that's coming to Florida. But we all are seeing that it's coming. I can't tell you what it is. I don't know. It could be multiple things that occur simultaneously. You know, they had a sinkhole just open up out of nowhere. And they said that sinkhole is still growing. You can have earthquakes, tornadoes, floods. You can have fires, all kinds of things. You look at Canada, they have 500 plus wildfires. They can't even put out all the wildfires in Canada. So you all don't go down there, and it's time for an exodus. Get out of there. Yeah, get out of there. If you can get out, get out. Even if you think you can. Get out. It's time to go now. Yeah, this is very serious. And that's why I'm telling you all, because I didn't want it to be on me, and that's why a lot of the seers and tellers and empaths were telling you. Because we don't want it to be on us that we didn't warn you all. We gave you ample warning. You can look at video after video. People are telling you, leave. Yeah, time to go. They've done something. To me, I think the judgment has already been rendered. There's nothing any of us can do to stop it. Yeah. It's a shame that all that coral reef died like that. None of us could have stopped that. So it's time to go, you all. It is what it is. Well, the 18 could be 18 years to repair whatever type of catastrophe happens to that state. It could take 18 years to repair the entire state. Yeah. Or it's 18-year-olds to do something monumental in that state to change it. I don't know. We don't know what the 18 stands for. All we're seeing is the number 18. Somebody said they heard a voice, and it just said something to the effect, I'm paraphrasing. They said they heard a voice. It came to them in their dream. They heard a voice. This is not me. This is someone else. They said they heard a voice. It was concerning Florida. And the voice said they turned away from me. That was it. It didn't specify anything more than that. I saw 18 too in regards to Florida. I don't know what it meant. And then I saw complete rubble. Everything was gone. All the buildings, everything. Nothing was left standing. And that's why I told you all last night, it's time for an exodus out of there. Take whatever you can, your cat, your dog, your few possessions, and get out. The sooner the better. Time to go. And this kind of could be like a trial run for something. Yeah, this could be a trial run. That's why I'm telling our folks, if you're down there, leave. Because I don't want to see our folks get harmed or hurt in this. But if you stay, you will. That's what I've seen. Period. No matter who you are, if you stay, you won't make it. Yeah, that's sad and tragic, but you know, somebody said that in another video. They said this could be a trial run for something. I like to see how many people can get out of Florida. Because we might need to do it nationally. Get out of the entire country. Hey, if shit goes sideways, I'm prepared to do whatever. I'm telling you all. You always got to remain flexible. You can't be tied to something so much so that you just don't exercise good judgment and reason, especially when it's clear and present in front of you. Yeah. So Florida could be a trial run. Because if they try to bring back that kind of shit, and you know what I'm talking about, because we all know what Nazism really is. You know, they try to glamorize it for the youth. You won't tell the truth to the young people, please. Young people, you listen to me. Nazism is about one thing and one thing only: ethnic genocide. And so anybody running around telling you they're glamorizing Adolf Hitler, a genocidal maniac, and the folks that did what he instructed them to do, those are not the type of people you want to be in company of. Yeah. Those are not the type of people I want to have tea with or go near. And Florida is flirting with that. You know, to tell folks that there were benefits to something horrendous and as evil as the enslavement of African people in this continent. That's something you don't want to flirt around with. To have folks thinking that Nazis are somehow a legitimate political party when there was nothing legitimate about the genocide that they did. Yeah, bombing of whole entire nations because they wouldn't go along with their genocidal tendencies and practices. You know, we gotta start stating when 2 plus 2 equals 4. And if you can't do that, then you really shouldn't be talking or speaking to us. Or we should tune you the hell out. You know, I heard Greg Gutfeld try to justify the Holocaust. Fox News host. He said you had to have some type of skills to be of usage in the concentration camps. You know, they said that made other people that work at Fox News upset. But they wanted to remain anonymous. Fine, so be it. But what I would have done is I would have gotten together all the employees at Fox News, and we would have all signed a letter to corporate headquarters demanding he be terminated immediately. Or we would all stage a walkout. Yeah. Because, I mean, at this point, those type of degenerate people like Greg Gutfeld, he's a degenerate monster to make commentary like that. When you know the type of things that occurred in the concentration camps. Yeah. He's a degenerate monster to make commentary like that. And if you say that at any other place of employment, you're immediately called into HR and you're terminated. So you know Fox is putting up with the indefensible. They're defending the indefensible. I'm not sure why he hasn't been terminated already, you all. Yeah. The little children that were skinned alive Clausewitz and Buchenthal. Yeah. No, I wouldn't want to sit next to something like Greg Gutfield. If they told me I'm going to have to come on the show and he's going to ask me questions, I would say no, anybody but him. I'm refusing. And for you, all of you all who don't agree with that, don't go next to that scum. Don't sit next to that scum. I tell him as long as he's here on this set, I'm not coming on this set anymore. Because he should be terminated for those type of horrendous, shameful commentary. You know, Germany has the videos of what happened in those concentration camps. It's so bad, Germany doesn't even want to show it. To this day. You have the Republican Party, a party formed to abolish slavery, now telling us in 2023 there's benefits. The governor said that some folks might have parlayed out of slavery becoming a blacksmith or a carpenter. Yeah, that's what the Republican governor of Florida said. The total dehumanization and degradation of a body. And he said you might have parlayed some skills out of it. These are degenerate monsters. There's no way in hell he should come near 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Look, I tell you all the time, you don't have to be in love with politicians. That's not what it's about. But when it comes to people like that, they're not fit or qualified to be a dog catcher. He's not fit for being a cat sitter, let alone president. If that's his fundamental thinking, if that's his fundamental framework and basis of thinking, no. You're not fit to be a leader. Because when the state board of education in his state, where he's the governor, decided to do that, he should have been on the phone and said, no, take that the hell out. It's not appropriate, it's offensive, and it's not going in there. And then I would have hung up. So he wants to blame this now on Manny Diaz, the director of education in Florida. And yes, certainly he has a lot to blame for it. But he's the one that appointed Manny Diaz and the entire board. He's the one that stoked up all of this with the Woke Act. Yeah. And you all know the irony of all of this is the law he passed, the Stop Woke Act, which is all about supposedly having students feel a certain way based off of learning something. Students of color can definitely sue under his own law that he signed for feelings of discomfort. Can you imagine a middle school student learning that there was some type of benefit to their ancestors being enslaved for centuries in America? That doesn't elicit any feelings of discomfort. So that's why I said when he signed that whole law, I said it was bullshit. Because it never was about feelings. It was about revision. It was about whitewashing. It was about erasing what they folks like Ron DeSantis and others in Florida had done for centuries in this country. It was about not wanting to share the truth about what the white evangelical Christian movement and how they enslave people in this country. That's what it was about. It was about stopping telling the truth about them. They don't feel any discomfort about it. They just don't want you all to know what they did. Because they're still on their same old bullshit. We all know. Nothing's changed but the day of the week with those folks. I tell you all the time, they come from a lineage of evil. They haven't broke that curse. They're not saved and they're not born again. Yeah. Somebody said once they're born into the same evil again. Yeah, I would agree with that. And they hide behind religion and nationalism to really cloak their insidious hatred and genocidal tendencies. They have a propensity towards genocide. They cannot help themselves. Yeah, some people say it's a genetic defect with them. I don't know what it is with them. But they've been on it for centuries. Ever since they came here, they've been on that. And because the rest of us won't put up with it, they like to call us names. And you know, I don't care about the names they call us. I really don't give a fuck. If I gave two fucks really about them? Not really. Not at all. You all, any convention you want to hold down there, really seriously consider and reconsider it. No matter if it's this year, next year, 2 years out, 3 years out, until it's a sea change of folks who are running that establishment in Florida. I wouldn't go down there. You know, I said I'm extending my personal boycott all the way through 2023 and 2024. Yeah, I'm not going to go down there as a tourist. You talk about the swamp. That's a sewage of hate, bigotry, and evil. And I want nothing to do with it. Nothing whatsoever. Yeah, I would leave them completely in the lurch. You know, a lot of folks from all over the nation go down there to retire. You had John Burgess. Do you all know who that is? He was a former Chicago police sergeant. And in the 1970s, he tortured confessions out of black men. Yeah. Folks who didn't commit any crimes, he pulled them into his office. And he tortured them. It's well documented. Hooked their genitalia up to electricity. Put guns in folks' mouths. Slammed hard covered books upside people's heads. He did all types of sadistic, terroristic, and torturous things to people. And then he retired in Florida with his full pension. Yeah. And so that's the type of individuals Florida has attracted. Yeah. And so whatever comes to Florida, you all, at this point, I'm not going to feel any type of way about it. That's why I'm telling our folks to get out. Because I believe the verdict has been rendered for the state of Florida. And they're going to be made an example for the rest of us. What not to do. What line not to cross. Yeah. So I want to commend Alpha, Phi Alpha. You know, I don't do fraternities or sororities. When we were at university, we kind of spoke out against those kinds of things. It's not something for me. But for the folks who that is a thing for, kudos to you for not wanting to be in that environment. For not wanting to endorse it by giving your hard-earned money to it. That's really what a boycott in essence is about. You work very hard every day, non-stop, like a hamster in the wheel, for the pennies these folks pay us. And then we're supposed to take our money and spend it with folks who we know have a deep-seated hatred for our entire existence. Now you talk about the definition of insanity. I'm not doing that. I told you all, I'm not doing that anymore. You can hate me all you want. The feeling's mutual. It's not like I'm enamored with them. But I'm not going to give you any more of my hard-earned capital. Because I feel as though that's an endorsement of what you're doing. And I fundamentally, wholeheartedly don't endorse what they're doing. I completely reject what they're doing. And if you want to talk about indoctrination of children, telling children that trans people are scary and have a mental health issue, but then wanting to glorify people who actually had children in small rooms skinning them alive. Yeah. Which one do you all think is more horrific to children's senses? A transgender person reading a book? Or a Nazi skinning your child alive? These people have a propensity toward genocide, you all. They're festered and harbored in Florida. That's where they feel comfortable. They created an environment of hatred because the government has allowed it to occur. They can allow and do what they want. And we're going to do what we want to do too. which is not to do any business with him, period. Yeah. That's how we're rolling in 2023. You know, the president of Mexico, he said Mexican Americans shouldn't give one single vote to Governor Ron DeSantis. Not one. For his dehumanization policies he's putting on his people. And I agree full and wholeheartedly with him. Don't support, you listen to me, don't support people who have a deep-seated hatred of your existence. And they do. They love to try to skirt around it, not admit to it, but that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. And you know, it's not just the voting, it's our money too. I'm not going to go down there and frolic and pretend like I'm having a good time when I know the people down there living in it who don't support what's going on are in misery. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. So even Disney is struggling down there because people are not coming. It's about basic respect and basic dignity. If you can't have the basics, the very basic necessities, the starting point for a person. And that's not to say you have to agree with everybody's philosophy, their principles, their ideologies. No. There have been other Republican governors in Florida who didn't do what Ron DeSantis is doing. So this doesn't really necessarily have to do with politics or political philosophy. This is something he's chosen to do, go out of his way. He said Florida is where woke goes to die. I said, that's an interesting thing to say. You can disagree with people's philosophy, but you don't have to wish harm and misery because you disagree on folks. But I said, if they're on that type of vibe, it's going to come back to them tenfold. It's like a boomerang. You throw it out into the universe, and eventually it's going to swing back on you. So you all who are in support of us, you take all that hatred, you put it in an envelope, you seal it up, and you send that shit right back to sender.